Welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. We're going to be looking at a totally fascinating story today. Let's get right into it. So pause for a quick second and genuinely ask yourself, if you, right now, just stumbled upon a tree that grew pure, heavy, glowing gold, what would you actually do? I mean, really, would you accidentally crash the global gold market? Would you hoard it all in some massive underground vault? Or would you try to use it to change the world? Source material immediately hits us with a huge psychological contrast. On one side, we have Sarju. He lives in this tiny old hut with cracked mud walls and a leaking roof. The guy is exhausted, wearing torn clothes, but he operates from this deep place of intrinsic peace. Despite grinding poverty, he actually finds joy in honest hard work. Then, on the complete opposite side, we have his neighbor, Kishore. Now, Kishore, he wears these shiny, expensive clothes and essentially runs on toxic extrinsic validation. He openly flaunts his wealth and literally mocks Sarju's cracked mud walls. So we've got the perfect laboratory setup right here. Quiet, grounded humility versus loud, flashy arrogance. Now, before any magical golden trees even enter the picture, the story hits us with what I like to call the bread test. Sarju comes home from a grueling day, and he's only got one single piece of dry bread. In a state of absolute scarcity, where one piece of bread is the ultimate zero-sum game, Sarju breaks it in two and deliberately hands the much larger half to his daughter, Champa. Champa, of course, knows her dad is starving and tries to give it back, but he flat out refuses. He just tells her, "Have patience, good days will surely come." He absolutely aces this ultimate stress test of character long before he ever lays eyes on a single piece of gold. The very next day, Sarju goes deep into the forest to find firewood to sell, and the heat is just blistering. Out of nowhere, in this small clearing, he spots a withered, dying tree. No green leaves left, the soil around it is all hard and cracked. Now, from a purely logical survival standpoint, a dead tree is a total payday for a woodcutter. It's instant, dry firewood ready to be sold to feed his hungry kid. But Sarju makes this highly irrational, deeply empathetic choice. He feels the hot bark and chooses the tree's survival over his own immediate needs. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer physical friction of true compassion. Sarju doesn't even have a bucket. He's only got this tiny clay pot. So he sprints to the river, fills the tiny pot, sprints back, pours it on the roots. He literally digs a small trench with his bare hands so the water won't run off. Then he repeats the whole process over and over and over again in the boiling heat. His breathing is heavy, his legs are screaming, but he's speaking to this tree like it's a sick child. It's a powerful picture of relentless empathy. Just as Sarju is about to collapse from exhaustion, the impossible happens. The dried-up tree suddenly blasts out this brilliant, beautiful golden light. Hundreds of green leaves instantly sprout, and from this light, a sage with a long white beard and glowing white garments just steps right out. The sage reveals himself as the deity of the forest, and he tells Sarju, "I was testing you. You were hungry yourself, yet you saved this tree's life." The sage completely reframes this whole exhausting ordeal. It wasn't some random agricultural chore, it was the ultimate blind test. It was an evaluation of human integrity when the subject was totally convinced no one was watching. Then the sage taps the tree with his staff, and these small, glowing yellow fruits appear. But wait, they aren't actually mangoes. They're made of solid, heavy gold. A golden mango drops right into Sarju's hands. But there's a catch. The sage attaches some incredibly strict, non-negotiable conditions to this miracle. He gives a serious warning: "This is the fruit of your honesty. Do not be greedy. If you become greedy, this tree will dry up again. Use it to help others." So it's a magnificent gift, for sure, but honestly, it's also kind of a loaded psychological weapon. And here we arrive at the ultimate test of delayed gratification: the rule of one. Sarju is permitted to extract exactly one golden fruit per week. Just one. And to get it, he has to approach the tree with respect and gently tap it twice. That's the whole system. One fruit, once a week, through gentle respect. No hoarding, no growth hacks, no optimizing the yield, just pure, simple patience. So what does he do? Well, Sarju immediately cashes in his personal windfall to create a community asset. He doesn't run out and buy fancy status symbols to go compete with Kishore. No, he sells a small piece of the gold and buys infrastructure. He finally fixes that broken roof and buys food for the most vulnerable people around him. On his way home, he literally stops at the houses of the poorest villagers. He's handing out fresh vegetables, rice, lentils, and coins, telling them, "Uncle, you won't have to go hungry anymore." He completely transforms an individual miracle into collective abundance. But remember our other test subject, Kishore? Yeah, Kishore has been watching all of this. He sees Sarju handing out money like it's nothing, and is just instantly consumed by jealousy. He's thinking, this poor guy got rich overnight. He must have found a treasure, and I have to find out his secret. So, we've already seen what happens when selflessness encounters magic. But what happens when pure, unadulterated greed encounters that same magic? Well, Kishore spies on Sarju one night and discovers the golden tree. And the very next night, Kishore sneaks back alone. But Kishore doesn't care about delayed gratification. He wants an instant monopoly. Operating on a classic tragedy of the commons mindset, he doesn't gently tap the tree. Are you kidding? He brings a heavy iron axe. He wants to chop the whole thing down and extract all the value at once, so he can be the richest man on earth. He winds up and swings that axe with all his might directly into the trunk of the magical tree. But the tree does not break. Instead, thunder literally cracks across the sky. The golden fruits instantly transform into heavy, worthless blackstones. Talk about an immediate, terrifying negative feedback loop to his greed, right? The tree begins to shake violently, and its branches start moving like giant snakes, wrapping tightly around Kishore's body, completely trapping him. Kishore's absolutely terrified, screaming for his life as the branches start crushing him. Sarju, hearing the screams, comes running into the forest. The sage reappears, and he is furious, declaring that Kishore has to be punished for his greed. The sage prepares to strike, but then the unthinkable happens. Sarju drops to his knees. Remember, this is the man who mercilessly mocked him, who flaunted his wealth while Sarju and his daughter literally starved, and who just tried to destroy the village's one and only miracle. And yet, Sarju begs the sage, please spare him. Greed corrupted his mind. Give him one more chance. It is a staggering act of radical, logic-defying empathy. The sage looks down at Sarju and sees that, despite everything, his heart is still entirely pure. So he waves his staff, releasing Kishore and dropping him to the dirt. But the sage leaves Kishore with this incredibly piercing psychological truth. He says, "Only because of Sarju am I sparing you. Remember, he who wishes ill upon others will never find true prosperity." It just beautifully cements the absolute core moral lesson of our source material today. And you know this right here? This is the real magic of the story. It wasn't the gold, it was the behavioral contagion. Sarju's radical empathy completely shatters Kishore's toxic worldview, breaking that vicious cycle of arrogance. The very next morning, Kishore shows up at Sarju's house. He's dropped the flashy, arrogant clothes. He's genuinely humble. He even brings seeds for planting as a peace offering. He apologizes deeply, vowing, "You saved my life while I was doing bad to you. From today, I will try to be a good human being like you." Let's move on and look at how this scales, because the ripple effect of this single act of forgiveness is just astounding. Within days, Sarju had saved his own family from starvation. Within weeks, the poorest neighbors finally had rice and lentils. But within months, Kishore tells Sarju he wants his very first act of goodness to be building a free school for the village children. Together, the two former rivals pool the magic of the golden tree to fund the teachers and buy all the books. Our case study concludes with this really beautiful image. Champa, who is now wearing a crisp, clean school uniform, stands with her father Sarju admiring this newly built school filled with happy reading children. Champa looks up and says, "This is all because of the magical tree." But Sarju actually corrects her. He reframes the entire narrative for her, saying, "The real magic is in everyone's hard work and good hearts. When we let go of greed, everything feels magical. True wealth isn't gold, it's our goodness." The gold was never the actual solution. It was merely the catalyst they used to build a community. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If true wealth isn't a glowing golden mango, but rather the empathy, resilience, and goodness we deploy when we think no one is watching, what is the magic hiding inside you? How can you use your own unique gifts to build up your community today? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.